Hey guys, it's Victor Costa. How you doing? Wanted to talk to you today a little bit about bodybuilding supplements. I get a lot of questions and comments about whether or not I take bodybuilding supplements, if I do, which ones to take, and if they are a necessary part of the hobby and sport of bodybuilding as we see it from natural fitness enthusiasts. So these questions come from a host of perspectives. Sometimes they come from people who cannot afford bodybuilding supplements. They are wondering whether or not they're really missing out on the magical formula that other people have. And there's an element of frustration attached to that because they have a sense that they could really be supported by this, but they just simply can't afford it economically. Or there's folks who live in a country or province or region that simply does not allow bodybuilding supplements by law. There are those that exist. And they're also in the camp of whether or not there is this special thing that the rest of us are easily able to avail ourselves of that they simply can't have. So there's this mystery associated with this element that could potentially come into their lives and change everything for them. And then there's also the folks who aren't taking any bodybuilding supplements at all. They maybe even be suspicious of just taking anything in general, or they're a little worried about them, and they don't want to take anything, but they're thinking about it because they also feel that there's something that could potentially be missing that could enhance their progress. And then there's also folks who are taking everything under the sun and they're wondering whether or not they should begin editing. They don't know if they should switch one for the other, and they don't know which one is helping because they've actually created a confound by taking too many things. When you're taking too many things at one time, you may not actually be sure which one is really supporting you the most. So I want to tell you what I do, and then I want to work backwards and talk to you from the perspective of each of those question perspectives. So the long and short of it is, for me, I personally do not take any bodybuilding supplements at all. In fact, I don't even take any protein powder either. I do take a vitamin supplement. I take a men's multivitamin, and I also take a supplement to that, which is a vitamin D supplement. I take 2,000 additional IUs of vitamin D daily. There are already 2,000 IUs of vitamin D in the multi that I take. So combined, it's 4,000 IUs. The reason for that is because I saw a book on my doctor's desk when I was in there for a checkup. I asked him what he thought about vitamin D, and he said most people are deficient in D and are not aware of it. So he said, I would like to test you for D, simply because it's kind of in the ether, it's been brought up. My doctor personally takes several thousand IUs of D daily, and he suggested that I get tested for it. So we did. Sure enough, he leaves a message on my answering machine that says, we were right. You would benefit from 4,000 IUs of D daily. When I started to take the vitamin D, I immediately felt better, which was sort of evidence of the deficiency, right? It's the same thing with sleep. If you start sleeping an extra half hour or hour a day and you start to feel better, you have more clarity in your decision making, you have better performance at work and at school, and your workouts are better, it's sort of evidence that you haven't been sleeping enough. It's the same thing with food. If you start eating a little more and suddenly feel better, it's pretty much evidence that you hadn't been eating enough. And it was kind of the same thing for me with vitamin D, although I went about it in a more methodical way, which is actually talking to my physician about it, getting tested to really find the deficiency, and then throwing it back into balance, which is ideal for most people. You may stumble upon certain things in life, like trying to do something a little bit different and then suddenly feeling better and realizing in reverse that you had a deficiency all along. But that typically pertains to vitamins, minerals, and food. Now let's talk about bodybuilding supplements in general. A lot of folks that are not able to acquire bodybuilding supplements for whatever reason, they may not be able to afford them, or they may live in a province or region that does not allow them, because remember, we're talking to a global community and there are places like that. There's this sense of mystery, that there's this magical thing out there that you cannot avail yourselves of. And oftentimes that actually keeps us from progressing, because we feel as though if we could just get our hands on what the rest of the world has, we could really make a giant leap in our progression. So I wanted to tell you, and for those folks who now realize that I don't take anything at all, it may give you a sense of that you and I are sort of in the same boat, in terms of the only difference is it's available to me and I don't take it, and it's not available to you and you presently don't take it. So what I would say to those folks who can't afford it and can't take it, it's sort of off the desk as a topic, right? So don't allow the sense of not being able to get it stand in the way of your progress. From my perspective, with respect to that, I have never met someone who said that this particular supplement was the be-all and end-all, that it really changed the outcome of where they were headed with their original intention in a very different way. Maybe there were some peaks and valleys along the way, but they kind of ended up in the same place. And so I wanted to share that with you. Once you get the idea out of your mind that there's this magical element out there that's missing, all of a sudden you can start working on what you have and set that focus up, and you will automatically start to progress because you can start paying a little bit more attention to your focus and your diet instead of thinking that all of the gains are out there if you could just get your hands on them. It's not true. All of the gains are in here, and what you have to do is actually you have to let them work themselves out and manifest into your experience because you have everything you need. Take this time to do a little bit more research and focus on your diet. So another thing that you can do is actually start to research some of the things that you think you have from a sensory perspective. In other words, if your energy is low, if you don't feel well, if you lack focus, start with the feeling of that and then do your research on what foodstuffs can actually be incorporated into your diet to support that and make you get back into balance in a little bit more of a circuitous way than the way I went about it. If you do not have the ability to get to a doctor and to have the healthcare coverage to support things like realigning yourself with respect to deficiencies. Remember, that magical supplement is not the thing that's going to stand in the way of your progress. You can progress without it. Now, back to the folks who are on the fence, who can afford it and have it available to them, but they're not certain about it. The stress that sometimes people experience, and I'm one of those people that I always worry about what I'm putting into my body. I want to make sure it's the purest, the cleanest. You have your research cut out for you. I would also start with the symptomatic approach of finding out what you think your deficiencies are by how you feel. Maybe you can consult your doctor and ask which supplements, vitamins, or minerals would support you in that way. And then also talk to your doctor about bodybuilding supplements, because there is a sense that if you're not eating enough, that you're actually creating deficiencies because of your training. And so that's where the advocacy could come in for bodybuilding supplements. It's that when you're creating the deficiency, you're already whole, you're doing very, very well, your supplementation and your food and your diet is perfect for a person who is alive and awake and working and going to school and having a family and all that. But now you've added this extra element of stress. And that stress is also causing a drag and potential deficiency and burning of minerals and vitamins and all these other things that could potentially be added back to remake you whole. So although I don't take anything, I'm very cognizant of that, and I use my foodstuffs to get myself back into alignment, because I do know that I'm getting rid of things, right? I'm working, I'm tearing things away. I need to re-energize myself in order to bring myself back into balance. Now, so there's a lot of things that you can do, especially if you have the resources, the time. You can start in any way. You can start with your doctor. You can start with how you feel. Then you can try to work with it from a food perspective. Then you can try the second level, which would be to figure out what's getting depleted and then talk about adding that back in. I can't support any particular brand or product or supplement or anything like that because, as you know, I don't take any, so it wouldn't be fair to you. I have resources available to me and people who could tell me, and I check in with those people from time to time about things in a very cursory way, to share some knowledge from time to time. We're going to be doing some stuff on protein at some point, and I'll tell you about that. So I'm not going to recommend any brand or anything like that. But there's a lot of things, especially if you have the wherewithal to do all that research, to come back into alignment and to keep yourself into alignment, so you're not adding so many superfluous things. It's all just bringing you back to whole. Now, for the folks who are taking so many things under the sun, there's a lot of people out there who don't worry like I do. They're pretty cavalier. I actually like to hang out with some of those people because they're not such a ball of stress all the time. They're great to have from like a hangout kind of a perspective, but sometimes they're a little bit too cavalier with, I'll try this, I'll take this, I'll do this, I'll do this, and then they've created a confound, which they don't know what supplement's helping them. They're spending a couple $100 a month and they're not really sure if they're getting any benefit from them at all, but they've got into this routine. And that routine can also make you broke, and it may not also help. So a good idea would be to maybe start taking away one at a time and maybe getting a sense. You can take away one at a time and see how you feel. You can take them all away and then add little by little by little by little to see what's really supporting you and helping you out. So that's another thing for the people who are already taking something and who've done a lot of research. I would do my research. Oftentimes when you have too much of one thing in your body or too much of something, it can create an imbalance in the other way. Just like I was imbalanced with respect to my D deficiency, there is a possibility of making your body toxic from taking too many things. So for the folks who are taking tons of bodybuilding supplements, I will also say that I haven't seen, in my experience, any one that has made the difference over the longest haul. So in other words, there may have been peaks and valleys with respect to progress, and then non-progress, and you took something else and you put progress in there. But what happens a lot of times is that since you feel that you're on so many things, you may as well avail yourself of your gym time so you make it more productive. So that also ties into some of the people who can't afford it or can't get their hands on it, that there is sometimes a psychological component to this where you feel that all your needs are addressed and now you can go get it and attack it. So for those people who don't have it, keep that in mind, right? That there's a lot of psychological aspects to this, that sometimes they feel defeated because they don't have enough of the materials that other people have to work with. And then for the people who are taking a lot of things or everything else under the sun, you might want to consider editing for your own health. You may not want to have one particular supplement or many supplements that have the same ingredient over and over and over. It's just as important for the people who are taking so many things, who are very cavalier, to do their research as well. And there's nothing that stops you from talking to your physician to say, these are the things I'm taking, what do you think? Or getting a blood test to see if you have too much of one particular thing in your body. So we don't want to create imbalances. So that's the scoop from my perspective. I have a very broad perspective because I speak to people all over the world. Again, there has never been this magic formula that really changes everything for people. Bodybuilding is a very cumulative type of activity. There's a lot of elements that go into progress and success, and each one added can really help out quite a bit. There's sleep, there's nutrition, there's perspective, there's your training, there's also the training routine, there's the way that you approach it. Do you go full blast every time you're there, or are you more intuitive about your training and you take it easy on your body sometimes? It takes a while to get all these elements under control. But like I said, there's never been one supplement that said it made the difference between success and failure. I've never really seen it like that. So I just want you to keep this in mind. It's my particular perspective on supplements. Of course, I wanted to share that with you. I wish you guys all the best. Peace, love, and muscles. Visit me at Vix Natural and say hello on Facebook. Take care. Bye.